All right, we're starting. And welcome, everyone. We are at round 3 of the 2020 U.S. Cadet National Championship online. My name is Abel Talamantez. I'm the chess director at the Mechanics Institute. And joining me for the start of round 3 is FIDE Master Kyron Griffith. Thanks for...
Hello. Thanks. Excited to be on.
So just to kind of recap everyone that's watching, this is round 3 of 7. It's an 8-player invitational round robin. The U.S. Cadet Championship is for the top under 16-year-old players. 6 are by USCF rating. The Barber Champion, which is the K through 8 champion, is an automatic qualifier. And then the organizer wild card, we gave it to Rui Yan, who has been, she lost her first 2 games, but has been given her opponents absolutely everything they could handle, including a nail biter in the last round against Christopher Yu. He eked it out, but she is totally game and totally tough. The only player with 2 out of 2 after these 2 rounds is Christopher Yu, who won yesterday and today. And let's pull up his game and bringing that up. And it's International Master Christopher Yu against Christopher Shen, who I think is a FIDE Master. Let me look at that.
Yeah, looks like it according to the standings.
So, Kyron, you've looked at the standing, you've seen the players. Who have you played there? Probably Christopher Yu, and I know you played Rui.
Yeah. I think I know of everyone. I've played personally Christopher Yu both over the board and online. I've played. I'm sure I've played a lot of these guys online, maybe on anonymous accounts or something. But I've definitely played Andrew Hong and Rui, and I played Max Liu as well. So definitely it's an incredibly strong field. So being just even getting points on the board here is a very impressive feat.
And we were talking in the opening ceremonies. We had Carol Meyer and Mike Hoffpauir of U.S. Chess, and Dwayne Barber and John Donaldson. This is probably the strongest field ever for the U.S. Cadet, just because it's online and we don't have to deal with the travel that's an obstacle for some parents and kids of having to do it. So. An exceptionally strong field this year, and the one thing we've been noticing in these games, because it's G70 plus 10, the games sort of develop, they build up, you feel the tension, and then after like 2 hours with each player having less than 10 minutes, it's just an absolute crazy blitz it out, totally unpredictable what happens, and that happened in both these first 2 rounds. So what is with that? Is it something that is just kind of like the natural course of chess, where just things get quiet and it just gets crazy at the end?
Yeah. 70 plus 10 is an interesting time control. It feels, on paper it looks like very slow, but I feel like once you get in there, you realize it's really not, that much time. It's it's obviously not a rapid game, but it's not a full-blown 90 plus 30, and certainly not, any of those like 2 hour per side time controls. So I'm a fan of this kind of time control. I think 70 plus 10 is more than enough time to kind of figure things out, and if you end up getting really low on time and flagging, then that's kind of on you. You can't really blame the time control for that. So to answer your question, I think in the opening, these guys are gonna really fight for small edges, and really try to get to the core of the position. And they just want to keep that balance, because they know that as soon as the balance kind of goes in someone's favor, it can get really hard to play. And especially in this type of time control, if you get like a worse position and it's easier to play for your opponent, that can be disaster, because they're gonna outplay you on the board and on the clock, and that's not a situation you want to be in at all.
And when we had to go with this time control, because obviously because this is a national championship event, it usually has a much longer time control. But by reducing it to G70, we're able to squeeze in 3 games a day, Saturday and Sunday, and then we had the one round on Friday yesterday. So we're able to get the 7 games in over 3 days, which is doable. I think everybody's happy with that. And like you said, G70 is certainly enough time to evaluate a position and play some decent chess. So what do you think here in Christopher Yu's game with the other Christopher Shen?
Yeah, Battle of the Christophers. Interesting position here. I think Black can't be too unhappy with this position. It seems maybe White has a slight edge. I suspect the C and the D pawns will get traded at some point. White will play F4 to cement his E5 pawn, and we'll see kind of Black having an isolated pawn on D5. So I think Christopher Shen is trying to figure out how to not let White get his ideal setup, because White wants to play F4, wants to take back on D4, probably with the C knight. And play bishop b2 and rook c1, and he'll just have White will be pretty happy there, blocking the d pawn and taking the c file and probably playing on the queen side. So I think it's maybe looking at it a bit more. If Black can't stop this plan, then I think White should have a pretty pleasant game, because Black's bishop on g7 will be locked in. So if I were Black, I'd be kind of I think f6 here might be a little bit too ambitious, especially with knight f4 in the air. But f6 is actually a move that if Black could safely play it, he might be pretty happy to, because he does have a slight lead in development. White still has to move the bishop on c1, and the rook on a1 is susceptible to tactics. So
bishop, yeah.
If Black, from the bishop on g7. So if Black could blow up in the position quickly, I think that would favor him a little bit. But if he's not able to, then I think White might just get a static edge here, which is not to say that Black is out of the game, but it's it'll be a little bit unpleasant to play for Black if White gets his ideal setup.
So let me move over to this game between international master Arthur Guo against Rui Yan, who is Black here.
Yeah, I know Rui is trying to get on the board here. This is an interesting one. We have, Black has the pawns in the center, but White has done a very good job of blockading them for now. And I want to say that White feels a little bit better if Black can't mobilize these pawns. So if White could, White would play knight h4, knight h4, knight f5, and put a rook on the third rank, and then go try to checkmate Black here. But hopefully Rui won't let that happen. White does have a problem with the pawn on b3, so knight h4 immediately. Maybe Black can think about being greedy and taking the pawn on b3. Looks a little dangerous.
So as an A player, as I just look at this position, I mean, to me, Black looks pretty good, because he looks got control of got the pawns right there in the center. Get the bishop on e6. Possibly do something like f5, but I know I'm missing something. Like for White, what do you see the advantage? This is the kind of position where it seems like, on paper, it seems like Black should be better. Well, actually, there's pawn on b7 hanging, which I did not see at all. So that's that's very important. Yeah. But it's a good warm up. But no, I mean, even statically, I think Black, those pawns in the center actually represent targets for Black. Like the pawn on d6 is backwards. And the light squares are pretty well covered by both the bishop on e6, but White also has some pretty good coverage there. So I think the question is, if Black could get the pawns on e5 and d5 and cement them, then that would be that would represent an advantage for Black, or Black would be at least okay.
But otherwise, the targets can actually be liabilities that if white is able to blockade the squares in front of them and target them. But now, okay, so Rui's down a pawn. So I wonder what she was planning here. Maybe, rook b5 doesn't quite work because white just goes queen takes a6 and gobbles up all the pawns, and then d6 is hanging. So I don't think rook b5 is anything good for black. She could try rook b5, queen takes a6, then rook b6, and then take on b3, and she'd only be down one pawn. But it feels
like the compensation
doesn't feel. Yeah. It feels like white still has a better position and is up a pawn. So
Rui in her first two games had almost very similar type of dynamics in her game where she objectively looked worse and played very defensive and almost like put herself in sort of a shell, and then arrived at a point in the game where she just launched and counterattacked, and it worked really well. We thought she probably had at least drawing, possibly winning chances in her first round. It didn't happen because she was short on time, and then didn't play the best continuations. And same with Christopher Yu. She looked like she had at least even drawn position after doing a counterattack, after looking a little bit worse. And, is that just by chance, or do some people just have that style where they like to keep things steady and then they're just waiting for the right moment to counterattack and counterpunch?
No, that's definitely a quality of a good player is that, even if you have a bad position, you don't, I think a lot of players, when they get a bad position, they know they have a bad position and they just kind of implode, and they just go for some crazy attack that won't work, or they sacrifice a piece in an effort to break out, and they lose the game and they say, oh, well, I had a bad position anyway. But really strong players like Rui they'll be in a bad position and they'll just keep holding, and they'll look for chances, and they'll know that this doesn't work, that doesn't work. Okay, I'll just won't implode. Let's just do nothing and see how our opponent tries to beat us. And then, you'll find that so many times, if you just hold on to your bad position for a couple more moves, your opponent will give you a big chance, way better than the chance you thought you had originally. And I've survived many games by just, I knew I was objectively lost, and I just kind of defended my pawns and just tried to survive. And then, later on they would slip up.
Speaking of
being tenacious is important.
Speaking of a bad position, we have one game that ended already, and it's Robert Shlyatenko against Max Liu. We arrived at this final position. This is move 22. Let me go back to 15.
Let's see what happened.
Well, let's go to 10. I mean, everything looks.
Okay, so it's a double Fianchetto system.
Yeah,
everything seems very calm.
That's the calm before the storm.
Yeah. Wow. B5. Interesting. I wonder if this was prep of some sort, or if. I guess it's a very logical move that white hasn't castled and black's ahead in development, so might as well try to blow it open if possible.
And then the bishop b5 pinning him. Yeah,
it's an annoying move because white still can't castle, and rook c8 is probably coming.
Wow.
Yeah, so white grabs the other one. I mean, it makes sense because your queen has to get off that file anyway, and so might as well grab a pawn while you're at it.
So queen c6. Ooh, look at that.
Okay. Wow, knight c5.
Might have missed that, right?
Yeah, 100%. 100% white missed this.
That's a nasty move. So rook d1. Yeah.
Wait. So he just give up the bishop on b2?
There.
What was that? Wait. So why not king e2 instead of
king e2
instead of losing this bishop?
What was you worried about? Yeah, right here, especially.
Let's see. Is rook b6 trapping the? Oh wow, that's.
Was that
wait?
What?
But rook b6 traps the queen anyway. After rook d1.
And didn't play that, right? Oh, but it's a check.
What's going on?
But it's a check anyway, right? Oh no, but
yeah. So Black could have trapped the queen with rook b6, but instead just decides to take the free bishop. It was just, everything was winning in that position.
right.
I don't understand rook b1 though. Maybe it was just completely lost at that point anyway though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's too bad because.
Oh, the queen did get trapped. Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's a nice queen trap right in the middle of the board like that.
Yeah, that is tough. Max got himself into some trouble right there, and a quick win by Robert Sztaray. Fantastic! Wow.
Yeah, Sztaray has been playing really well. I've been following some of his games recently. So.
Oh my gosh, he came on the broadcast yesterday after he drew his first round, and he just has that analytical mind of because he was thinking out loud. The plans of what he imagines the players are doing, and he seems on it, serious. We had a couple of people in the chat. They got their money on him to take the tournament down. So
yeah, I think he won the Southern California Chess Championship or something recently.
Yeah,
so.
he won the Barber Championship too. The K
wow!
Yeah, so he was the automatic qualifier.
Nice.
All right, so let's go to this game.
Asking if I played. No, I never played him when I was living in SoCal. I think we missed each other by a couple of years, but he's definitely up and coming.
Hey, did you ever play an event like this, like the Cadet or the Barber or the Denker?
I had kind of a funny. I was like at the rating threshold, but I would always miss it by like one or two players. It was like I got invited to the Cadets as like an alternate if like one person couldn't make it, and then of course everyone made it. Yeah, of course. So I didn't get to play the Cadets, and then
that's too bad.
The Denker, I did go to the Denker once, but it was tough because the SoCal representation for the Denker is so strong. It's just like the qualifying tournament for that, it has like 5 or 6 masters, and it was like so it was kind of a funny situation where it was actually being hosted in SoCal, and the hosting region has to field like an alternate player as well. Uh-huh. So I actually got second in the qualifying tournament, and I was the alternate player, which meant that I would only play if there were an odd number of players for whatever reason, if like someone couldn't make it. So someone did happen to be late the first round, so I played one round. And then they showed up. Then they showed up, and then I played. Then I couldn't play it like the rest of the round.
So you technically went down as having played it, although it was. You're a sub.
I played one round of the Denker tournament and I won, so I'm 100%.
Oh, nice, nice! You're undefeated.
Undefeated in the Denker. Yeah.
So here we got International Master Justin Wang and International Master Andrew Hong.
All right. See what we got. White's got the bishops. Yeah, this is interesting. It's White has the bishops, but Black's pawns on the queen side are very double-edged. Like they could represent a burden for Black actually, because the pawns in c5 and b5 are targeted by the bishops. It's not clear that the space that they're taking is actually affecting White that much. But I think Black's biggest trump in this position is the pressure on the e4 pawn right now. Why can't we just take b5? So Black is willing to trade b5 for e4. So it's very double-edged position. Okay, so we can't take b5 because bishop takes e4, then queen takes h3 is the idea. So that's very tricky.
And Black's going to do c4, right, or something like that.
Yeah, c4 is a huge threat here. This is a tricky move. White probably has to play like, because White doesn't really want to play f3 because that weakens the dark squares, and knight d5 is in the air, and if White plays f3, but might not have a choice here. White could also play c4 himself, although that does block in our own white squared bishop.
Oh, yeah. God, that bishop looks terrible. It's c4 and e4.
Yeah, it seems like it's easier to play for Black right now, even though White has the bishops. It's like this pressure on the e4 pawn is annoying, and I think f3 is probably the right decision here. So now black has to figure out how to. Well, black's got the pawn on b5 hanging, so something has to be done about that. Maybe c4 is prudent here. Black. Yeah, I wonder if black was trying to make some, interesting knight d5 ideas work, but it seems like white can just back off with the bishop either to d2 or to f2 and should be fine.
And there it is. c4 is played by black.
Oh, wait. So what happens if knight takes e4? Maybe this is really bad for white because so the idea is if bishop f1, you might have knight takes e4, f takes e4, bishop takes e4, and then no matter where the queen goes, we have queen takes h3, and we get 3 pawns.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
We get 3 pawns for it. I think black will almost certainly go for this. It seems like if black doesn't go for this, then white's going to have a nice position. So I'd be surprised if black did not go for this. So it's not the end of the world though for white, because white can just play. So the line we're looking at is knight takes e4, f takes e4, bishop takes e4, probably queen f2, queen takes h3 check, king g1, and there's no mates or anything. The bishop on e3 is guarded.
But that looks terrible.
Oh, but black
for white. I mean, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it is a lot of pressure. It's I think it actually seems pretty low risk for black. Just taking all of those pawns, and the king state is going to be an issue for white the rest of the game. But it's not. I don't think it's clearly better for black at all. I think it might be equal, and maybe the computer will give white an edge there. But I think practically it's hard to turn that down.
So while we wait for Andrew to decide what he does, this is the current position between Arthur and Rui. And she's only down a pawn here.
Yeah. So this is the line we looked at. It was rook b5, queen takes a6, rook d6, queen a3, and bishop takes b3. So she's down a pawn. It's probably not enough compensation, but the game's not over.
It's playable.
Yeah. White has some funny ideas. Well, I think white should probably just play like rook d2, maybe rook a1 is what white is thinking about as well. But actually rook d3 is also kind of interesting, trying to swing over on the third rank.
Started attacking there, that open file.
Yeah, but black is going to be able to mobilize these pawns actually. So black will probably try to get d5 in, and try to try to fight back with these pawns in the center. But it just seems easier to play for white, I think.
And the other thing for Rui is if she starts pushing those pawns, that rook can swing over as well. So we'll see if she makes something out of this. Let's check in on Christopher Yu's game against Christopher Shen. Looks like.
Wow! So black. How did black get this pawn?
Let's see.
This. Something went wrong for Christopher Yu here. Did we?
So here we are here, and then there was take.
So he played bishop b2, and then he took. What was Christopher Yu trying to do here? I think, okay, so white's, it's not the end of the world for white. White has pretty good compensation for the pawn, but this is not what he wanted at all. This is I'm really surprised, I'm surprised he didn't play f4 at some moment. Maybe there's some tactical refutation, maybe queen b6 or something was bothering him, but no, this is not at all what white was hoping for a couple moves ago.
Huh. Let's see if he can work himself out of this, because.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's still it's not a clean pawn for black because white's blockaded it. He's targeting it with the bishop on g2. I think white does have some compensation, but it's not what he wanted. Not what he wanted at all. Yeah, so white's threatening knight takes e6, and maybe this might actually get the pawn back.
But you don't think that this was the calculated line?
No, this isn't what he wanted. And black will probably play like queen d6 and just try to make it hard for white to get this pawn back. Typically, I wouldn't be surprised if black eventually gave the pawn back, but ensured that it led to an equal endgame or something along those lines.
So here we are checking in on Justin Wang and Andrew Hong here.
Oh, so he didn't go. Wow, rook a6. That's interesting. So he clearly still wants some knight takes e4 idea, but
and that's still there, right? I mean, unless white does something about it. Yeah.
It is still there. But white can also do some preparatory moves, like maybe king g1 to not lose the h3 pawn at the end of that line. It seems like black is maybe trying to switch plans a little bit and maybe play knight h5 and try to play on the dark squares. It's interesting that he didn't go for the knight sack for 3 pawns. Maybe he saw something at the end there, or maybe the bishops at the end just got too powerful, something like that.
I mean, this is kind of like the interesting part of chess at this level, because you have to think conceptually that I'm gonna sack my knight for the 3 pawns and to bust up that position, but I don't calculate the clear win after that. And some players have more of a comfort level venturing into that forest than others. Do you think that might be something that happened in this case, or? No.
I think he saw something concrete at the end. He spent a lot of time on those moves, and so he of course saw it. And I don't think he was. I'm certainly don't think he was afraid to do it just because it was a knight sack. But I think he must have evaluated the resulting position as not exactly what he wanted. Maybe he thinks the dark square bishop gets strong with bishop d4 or something along those lines. But no, at the IM level, like I think I don't think there's the fear factor is quite as prominent. I think it's more. My guess is he saw something concrete.
At what level do you think is it where players think about, what, I don't feel as comfortable not having the piece and having 2 or 3 pawns, or that at the B player level, A player level? Because I think that, but I'm an A player that plays like a C player. Yeah.
No, I mean, it really depends on the player. I think it's at this level, and actually at any level, what you should be thinking about is you should see the line. You should see it until the forcing moves are over. So if we take this as an example, after knight takes e4, f takes e4, bishop takes e4, queen f2, queen takes h3 check, king g1. I'm sure Andrew was thinking, well, now he has to move the queen, so maybe queen g4 or something, or queen. The queen has to retreat somewhere, which maybe he didn't like. So I think what happened is he evaluated the position after all the forcing moves were done, and he took stock and he saw, okay, white has a bishop for 3 of my pawns. His king seems kind of safe because I can't invade on the dark squares. Maybe white's going to get some counterplay with bishop d4 and rook e1 at the end of all that. And he ended up saying that he didn't think that was as good as the position as he could have had if he just played rook a6, which he did here. So I didn't answer your question at all, but I think that's. I don't know what level player does think like that, but I think you should definitely. You should be thinking, like, if you decide not to sacrifice or you decide to sacrifice, it should be concrete, answers as to like why the resulting position is good for you or not good for you.
And hello to Andy Lee, who's in the chat, and he's asking if Rook A6 is an attempt to make Knight X E4 work.
Yeah, I think it does. It did have some extra firepower there, but I was positive that White would do something. I was thinking maybe even King G1, but Rook D4 also, just to prevent this. So I think Black did give up on the Knight takes D4 idea, but maybe Rook A6 did threaten it. But White had a multitude of ways to. Now it's completely not an option anymore.
So let's move over to Christopher Yu's game against Christopher Shen. Still
so
has
Bishop
that
G4
pawn.
was played.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pawn's still alive, still kicking. I think not a lot's going on here. I think I wouldn't be surprised if Black ended up losing the pawn, but it petered out into some sort of equality. That's my prediction for this game is a draw. But if Black's ambitious, maybe he can try to play for more here. I don't think White should realistically have a lot of hopes of winning this.
And before we go on, just kind of want to give a shout out to the chief tournament director, John McCumiskey, who is monitoring the event behind the scenes. And we have 2 cameras on all the players, so the players are also being monitored. And the other tournament director, Dr. Judit Sztaray, she's starting the games, manually pairing these games, monitoring the cameras, and updating the standings and everything in the page, and answering questions even in the chat. So they work hard. A lot of behind the scenes stuff goes on to make it happen. And just want to give that shout out while we have the chance.
Awesome.
Let's go to Arthur and Rui. So
White did play Rook D3, which was the move we suggested, but we actually suggested almost every legal move with the Rook, so that's probably not a big win on our part. If White had 3 moves, White would play Knight H4, Knight F5, Rook G3, put something on G7, and Black would resign. So we'll see what Rui decides here. I suspect that Black will want to mobilize these center pawns somehow. Maybe she needs to consolidate the bishop or the king position a little bit first.
Can Black play E4?
No, just Rook takes E4.
And then Bishop C2?
Yeah, we have Rook G4 check.
There you go.
Yeah.
I tried.
Clever though. Yeah. Yeah, that would be nice if Black could get rid of one of these rooks, but Bishop C4 is an annoying move. Not totally sure how much it does after shift the rook over to E3. Is probably what I would guess, but maybe she wants to play like Queen B8 and get some pressure on the B2 pawn.
And as Judith is mentioning in the chat, we actually have already submitted the games to Ken Reagan for rounds 1 and 2. He will be absorbing all the rounds, scanning them for fair play in addition. Fortunately, he told us he's pretty free this weekend, so he's getting back to us really quick. So thanks to him. He does a lot of work for us, helping us with our fair play and everything. And it's good to have him. Good to have him around.
Yeah, he's an awesome resource. It's great to have
yes.
A bona fide statistically significant lie detector or whatever.
He is very helpful, a lot more than people realize to us. But yeah, it's good that he's on it so that players know, because there's a lot at stake. There's over $7,000 in prizes for the Cadet, $6,000 scholarship to the college or university of the winner's choice, in addition to $1,200 in additional prize money, courtesy of Dwayne Barber and the U.S. Chess Federation. So, yes.
It's awesome. Yeah, he's that's great that these these events happen and have really cool prize funds. So I'm actually surprised on this rook d2 move. I would have thought that maybe white just wants to double on the d file now, and try to blow something open here. But I kind of feel like, I don't know, rook e3 felt a little bit more natural to me, and just tried to pursue some stuff on the king side.
So if Rui was going to try to make something happen, like what's the idea? Is it f5, f4, or is it something else?
Actually, I think I would try to target some of white's weaknesses at this point, because even if you start pushing these pawns like d5, e4, like if you play d5, e4, then white just gets this massive hole on d4, which you don't really want. Pushing f5, e4, you still give white the hole on d4. I would probably, if I were black and I could have whatever I wanted, I'd probably want to have my pawn on d5, just to kind of have those pawn buddies on d5 and e5 covering a lot of squares, and then I probably would want to go play on the queen side actually, and try to target maybe the b2 pawn, and try to kind of flank white a little bit, because I don't really see a lot coming out of black just shoving these pawns in the center, and it might actually create the black king might actually get weaker because of that.
And seems like the light square bishop can move around a lot the way the pawns are structured right now.
That's true. Yeah, it's hard for white to really show something here. I'm really not sure what white's plan is right now.
So So let's go back to the Justin Wang Andrew Hong game here. Black played knight h5 and now bishop f2 for white.
Yeah, as Andy said, it does feel like white is pretty happy here. Black will have some counterplay on the dark squares. He'll probably shift the rook over to g6 and maybe queen c7 and try to play on the dark squares. But it kind of feels like white has done well, because white can always target b5. White can always play pawn to a4 himself and try to blow open the queen side, and the attack, quote unquote attack, that black has doesn't feel that scary to me.
I have my dog going crazy over there. That's live TV.
Black playing a4 that's a very committal move. So black has said, okay, you know what, you can target my b5 pawn for the rest of the game, but he'll probably park a bishop on c6 and try to keep this side of the game closed. And maybe black will try to get some counterplay on the a3 pawn someday by putting the queen on e7 or something like that.
And so what is the role of the black knight right here? Does the knight want to stay on the king side, or?
Yeah. I mean, the black knight is actually one of black's better pieces, because we're if it can get into f4 or g3, it'll at least cause some headaches for white. But queen d2 is a really good move. It covers f4. It threatens rook d7. White's probably just going to triple on the d file and invade that way. If I'm black, I would happily accept a draw offer here. It seems it doesn't feel like things are going black's way at all. And Andy wants to go knight f4, knight e6, knight c5, knight e3. That'd be awesome if black had 4 moves in a row.
Do like the knight tour.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I don't really see black being able to pull it off, and there's also like the consideration that even if the knight does get to b3 and white doesn't get forked, then white can just play around it and just kind of put the try to double the rooks on d1 and d7 and put the queen on f4 or something, and the knight on b3 actually doesn't do very much. So it feels pretty bad for black.
So
that's where I'm at.
Let's take a peek at Yu against Shen, Christopher Yu and Christopher Shen.
Yeah, still not much going on. White's still trying to prove that he has some play for this pawn that he sacrificed or blundered. Yeah, it's not terribly exciting. I think white will just, white's clearly just wants to double on the E file and probably and try to get some counterplay for this pawn. Like I think white wants to double on the E file. If black plays knight c6, maybe he just takes it and plays rook e7 the following move and gets some counterplay. But yeah, it's definitely white trying to hold the balance.
How many of these types of tournaments have you played where it's a round robin, it's 7 rounds, who you're playing, because it's round robin, the pairings for each round. What's the mental mindset? Is it, do you take it game by game, or do you, are you thinking strategy between the rounds?
No, absolutely. You take it game by game. It's, it can be a little bit, tough. In some ways it's tough because you get no easy games, but on the other hand, it's actually, especially for like the lower rated players, it's actually, not as stressful because you're not expected to be winning these games. So it kind of takes some pressure off actually. Like even though Rui and like Max are, 0-2 right now, I'm positive they will score some points, and it's, it actually takes some of the pressure. The pressure is on the higher rated player, like in most in most things. So
Max had a really bad beat in the last round. He was actually positionally ahead. He had 4 pawns for a piece, and he was clearly better. And Nick thought he was clearly better. And then his opponent was Justin Wang, who was the highest rated. He's the top seed, right, along with Christopher Yu. So Justin offered a draw. Max declined it, and all the moves right after that, Max did not play very well, and in no time at all, literally minutes after the draw, he declined the draw offer. He was far worse. He ended up losing an exchange, and it'll be interesting to see how resilient these players are, because it's tough when you have a loss like that where you were better. You at the very least, could have had a draw, and then just things turned on you.
It's really easy to have things spiral out of control in these kinds of tournaments, because if you start to lose confidence and every round you just keep playing strong players, like it's very easy to just like lose game after game after game. And I've definitely seen, strong players like fall into this where, they just, something doesn't go right for them for the first couple rounds, and then they just kind of spiral and will lose, a number of games one after the other. And it's really, really painful. I can tell. And the worst part is you can't even drop out of these because, you've signed up, and, that would be very rude to all the other players. But
it's like you're in a steel cage. There's no way out. you gotta play all the room.
In an open tournament, some of these players would they lose to a 2100 and they'd feel they're not playing their best, and they just go drop out and try again next time. But
and it's tough because Max lost that game. There's a good chance it affected, because he's the player that lost to Robert in this round. So hopefully he can kind of regroup himself and then come back fighting for round 4. But it's tough because as chess players, we've all been through those emotions. So
I think the emotional well-being is a big factor.
Some more than most. But,
True.
Let's go to Arthur and Rui's game.
And the other thing in these tournaments is prep is a huge factor. So I'd be interested. You never really get to, just by seeing the game, you don't really get to see what kind of prep went into it. But it always adds another layer of complexity to the game when you get to talk to these players afterwards and say what were you expecting? Like, what did they play? Who deviated first?
Right.
And that's always interesting as well.
And I think usually we have the drawing of the lots at the opening ceremony for this, but we actually did it before the Tuesday Night Marathon. So they had several days to prepare. And the funny thing is like some of these players on Friday were like, "Hey, are the pairings up?" So they didn't even think about preparing. And just so you know, Patrick Wolff will be coming on shortly. We'd love to have you stay for the rest of the round if you're available. It'd be cool to have.
Sure.
So what do you think here? Queen is on A1.
Queen A1. That is a heck of a move. What is
Yeah.
As I said, it's not easy to identify what White's trying to do. It feels to me like White is struggling to come up with a good idea here. He's probably trying to play probably wants Queen B1, Queen F5 if everything goes well for him. But it's feels a little artificial. I'm wondering why White's not trying to play Knight H4 sooner. Probably because Black will just play F5 herself. But it feels this Queen A1 move doesn't strike me as very scary for Black. I feel like Black has some time here to try to cause some problems for White.
And Andy's saying that it looks like White can just slowly, incrementally, just keep improving the position.
Possibly, I think Black should try maybe just double on the B file and try to keep White hostage on the B pawn. And if White plays B4, then the bishop on C4 is suddenly very strong, and the pawn on C3 is the new weakness. So maybe that's. Maybe it's not so easy. If White could get the knight to e3, yes, that would be, White would be very happy. But again, that's why I don't really understand this rook d2 move because our knight can't maneuver right now. If we play knight h4, I think Black will probably just play f5 and prevent the knight from getting there that way. So
right.
Yeah, I think really the last couple of moves have been good for Black. Although White might still have an edge here,
and she is thinking. She's putting a lot of thought. She's been managing her time pretty well throughout the tournament. So
Andy wants to play knight h4, f5, f4. Very ambitious. Possibly. I mean, Black could probably just play e4 there, and we give up the d4 square, but the knight on h4 is kind of ridiculous. White would need to play g3, knight g2 to get out of it, to justify this whole idea. It's possible.
And let's do a check here on Christopher Yu and Christopher Schoen.
Yep, White doubled. Black played bishop h3 and trying to get off the bishops, which from a positional standpoint makes a lot of sense because Black's bishop is bad due to the pawn on d5. I'm actually a little surprised that White allowed this. I think White probably considered bishop h1 to prevent that trade from happening. So maybe I guess White realized that he's gonna be able to infiltrate with the rooks here. Maybe just decided that he'll accept the bishop trade, but he'll still have some pressure with the rooks here. But from a positional standpoint, bishop h1 is a move that White probably should consider to not allow that trade.
And going over to the Justin Wang Andrew Hong game.
Yep, White. We got the the Alekhines AK-47 on the D file. It's nasty. I mean, rook d8 we could just simplify everything, and that if White is feeling like he doesn't want to get attacked, you can just play rook d8, trade everything, and your king is safe forever. And you could put the bishop on d4 after that, and just kind of the entire position is blockaded. But I think in a good way for White, because White can always in the end game just slowly push the king side pawn. Yeah, this is looking bad for Black still.
Yeah, and then the bishop's at c6, and Yeah, let's see what he makes of this. It's, Black is really struggling,
Yeah.
as Andy's saying.
Andrew's he's a very resourceful player, so this is one of those things that we were talking about where he has a bad position, he's just gonna hold on, he's not gonna lose immediately, he's gonna try to make little threats and be a little bit annoying to White, and I think probably under best play, White should win this, but it's never easy putting these guys away. And one GM once told me, he's like, he's referring to GMs, but I think it refers to IM strength and above at least, is that they're like slippery fish. Like you feel like you have them and then they just like wriggle out like right at the last second and make a draw or sometimes even beat you. So
they jump out of your hands and out of the boat.
Yeah. Yep.
So
can be very frustrating for sure.
So here, Rui's done it. She's gone F5.
F5. Yep. Yeah. This is probably the right pawn to move, because if you push the D5 pawn, you basically can't push F5 and D5 because then E5 will be too weak. If you push D5, then the F5 square is the problem, and I think White was kind of ready to pounce with Knight H4 and Queen B1. So this kind of logically makes a lot of sense to push the F pawn instead, and now kind of ask White what the big idea is. What's White trying to do here?
Joining us now is Grandmaster, two-time U.S. champion Patrick Wolff.
Hi.
How's it going?
Hello.
All right. How are you?
We're doing good, and with us is FIDE Master Kyron Griffith, and we are following the games. Let me just fix all our names here so that...
Is there a link I should be going to?
Yeah, just go to the twitch.tv/mechanicschess, and then just mute it once you get there. And then I'll fix the... Oops. Okay. Perfect.
So with this F5 move, Rui can even think about doing some play on the king side as well. Like maybe King H8 and put the rook on the G file and create some problems that way.
Yeah, I mean, because she has the ability to, there's like a lot of open space over there. The queen can slide over, maybe King H8.
Yeah. White's just gone very passive here. I think White thought that he had all the time in the world, but I don't think that's the case. I think White needed to be a little bit more proactive with this position, and now Black has I think Black's still pawn down, so probably not better, but certainly has some serious compensation for the pawn at this point.
So Patrick, this is U.S. Cadet. Everyone's under 16 years of age. We have international masters and FIDE masters, 12, 13, 14 years old. Did you ever play an event like this yourself? Like it was like the Cadet or
I played in the World Cadet Championship.
World Cadet.
In 1983. In Bucaramanga, Colombia, which was an experience. I did all right, not great. And I played in the U.S. Junior Championship several times, and won it a few times. But I don't know that we had a U.S. Cadet Championship when I was that age.
Yeah, I think they started it just a few years after you got out of it, right? Or out of that age qualifying category.
It was many years ago I got out of that age group. I'm trying to think like what would be a good move for White here. I'm kind of attracted to the idea of playing Queen A5, although I don't know whether I can exactly justify it, but first of all, that queen on A1 is like pretty much the epitome of passivity, so I'd like to do something. And I like the idea of messing up the coordination of black's queen and rook just a little bit. And also there might be some chance to take on e5 at some point. Like, I'm not suggesting that's a threat or anything, but I don't know. I'm trying to think of other candidate moves. Also, queen a5, you might be able to swing around with rook a1 at some point.
I think queen a5. What about queen b7, threatening b2 and threatening rook a8 at the same time?
Yes, that's true. I mean, you could play
Queen back a3 then, threatening b6 or something along those lines.
We wouldn't want to go queen a3 because then rook a8, right?
Yes, that would be unfortunate.
Yeah, you could go. Well, now.
Queen d1. So white wants knight g5, queen h5 or something.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough position. Like, I suspect that it's not worse for white, but it's a lot easier for black to come up with ideas, because basically black just kind of wants to swing over to the king side. Like rook f6, for example, seems like an incredibly natural move here.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
king h8 possibly as well.
Absolutely, king h8.
Because one thing I want to point out is that if you play king h8, rook g8, and white defends normally with pawn to g3, that weakens the light squares around his king forever. So that's it's a little bit annoying to deal with the rook on the g file for white.
Yeah. The one thing I like about queen d1 is it might set up the idea of going knight h4. I mean, so what's white's problem? Like, white's pieces are misplaced somehow. Like, if that knight were on e3 instead of f3,
yep. Andy Lee in the chat was talking about that. He wants the knight, wants to put the knight on e3.
Right, white would be winning, right? So the knight is terribly misplaced. The rooks are not bad on d2 and e1. They're not like awesome. Like, it'd be great if they were doubled on the a file or something, but they're not bad, right? They're like reasonably placed. The queen is certainly better on d1 than it was on a1, and you can see how it might move over to the king side. So you've got to figure out what you're going to do with the knight and the queen. Now black could go bishop b3, but you know that's probably just like, that probably doesn't really do much, right? Maybe queen e3.
Yeah, I think white would be happy to play queen e2, queen e3, and try to.
All right, so king h8 over b8. That makes sense.
There we go. Yeah.
So what about this sounds ridiculous. What about knight takes e5 and rook d7?
I don't know that it has a threat. Knight takes e5, d takes e5, rook d7, queen c6.
Queen c6, yeah. I was wondering if we could even just take on e5, and now we have 3 pawns and threatening to double on the 7th. Feels a little bit suspicious, but maybe not immediately losing, because now you have queen d4 in the air and you have rook e to e7 in the air. You have ideas of rook h7 and trying to get a perpetual maybe, but it's probably not what white wants.
Yeah.
There it is.
So the positional idea is, okay, knight h4.
Oh, knight h4, okay.
This was the positional idea, just to go queen h5 next move. And this is actually one of the reasons I was not a fan of king h8. It actually kind of steps into it a little bit more. And with the rook on f6 would have defended d6 to make it a lot easier to move the queen. Now, of course, you can play queen e7, but then queen h5, and then queen f6. But now I feel like white's actually improved his pieces somewhat.
Yeah, maybe rook e3.
Maybe rook e3. I mean, it's a little dicey because that back rank could be a problem, but if you don't, by the way, you can even just play pawn to g3 just to secure that knight. I'm not suggesting that's your next move or anything. I'm just saying, like, that knight's actually pretty good there. And we were talking about getting into e3. After g3, you can go knight g2, e3. So I feel like white's actually starting to improve.
So Let's, while we wait for the next move, let's check in on International Master Justin Wang against International Master Andrew Hong, who is a previous winner of the Neil Falconer Award at the Mechanics Institute.
Well, this looks really good for White.
Yeah, we've I think White can very seriously think about taking on F6 here.
Oh, it's White's
And
move?
then,
It's
Yeah.
White's move. Yeah.
Wow.
in fact, it's probably winning, take on F6, take on H6, and the dark square weaknesses are just enormous.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I agree. I mean, there's actually so many moves you can play here. Like,
Yeah, you don't even need to.
like Bishop D4, for example. Like, what? But I'm a fan of F6, right? But like, what are you going to do after Bishop D4?
Yeah, it's this knight is running out of squares. So probably, oh man, I mean he's probably sacking it or something, just like super desperate. Like it seems, this seems lost no matter what.
Andy
Black just has no play.
Andy Lee wants to sack on F6, G5.
Hang on. So, yeah. So you kind of want to play Rook takes E4 to try to hope for F
Yeah.
or Knight takes E4. But of course, on Rook takes E4, you just chop that knight off.
Yeah.
I mean, this looks. I mean, Rook, like in a blitz game, you'd probably just play Rook F6 and Queen H6 and not even think about it. And if you have time to think about it, you try to figure out whether Bishop D4 just wins. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, as Andy mentions, there's also G5 probably, but that might allow some counterplay involved with sacrifices on E4 or something. But
That's also a good move.
it's yeah.
Yeah. My only problem with G5 is like H3 is an issue, and so like for example G5, Knight takes E4, F takes E4, Rook takes E4, right? And now you've got to be careful because Bishop G2 is a blunder after Rook E2, right? With the idea, I guess you can go Queen D8 check, and but you don't want to fool around with that. Like, why make your life hard?
So while we
I don't see a defense to Rook F6, Queen H6, so then Bishop D4 coming next move.
I mean, yeah.
I'm not really sure how, because even after you get that structure, you can play pawn to G5, and Black can't even take it because you have Queen H8 mate. Like I don't really see how Black fends that off.
Well, I think after Rook F6, G6, Queen H6, you probably have to play Rook D8.
And then Bishop D4, and then we're
Take it.
okay. But what, you're pawn down and getting attacked, and
Oh yeah, no, it's horrible. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying
yeah.
if you've got to defend.
Rook E6, G5, Queen F8. This is an interesting idea.
But on Rook E6, you just go Bishop F6, right?
Bishop's not on
I'm
D4
sorry.
yet.
I think I'm not looking at the right. Okay. So Rook F6, G6, Queen H6.
Rook
then
E6.
Rook E6, Bishop D4, and then Queen F8, right? And then so why not just play Bishop D4? Like, what's your next move after Bishop D4?
Yeah, this might be the professional way to play, just Bishop D4. I guess Knight H7.
Right? So now on Knight H7, at a minimum, White can play H4, right?
Oh, wow.
You've got Queen H2.
Bishop G2.
So he's just shoring everything up before he does anything.
Yeah, just worried about that sacrificing.
Certainly makes sense.
Yeah, because all those other things we just talked about, they're still there, right? But now you defend against the sacrifice.
And the bishop on F1 was biting granite, right? Hitting the C4 pawn. Now, as Black, I would probably, like in a blitz game, I would play B4 probably without even thinking about it. I'm not saying it's good. I think after C takes B4, C3, Queen C2, for example, I don't see what you're doing. but you just desperately, you know, like maybe queen c4 there. You're going to try to play queen b3. You put a rook on the c file. You just like you desperately need some counterplay here somehow.
Yeah, I wonder if b4, if white can just ignore it, play bishop b4, and try to checkmate black first.
Yeah. Sure.
Let me check in on the other game going on between International Master Christopher Yu and FIDE Master Christopher Shen. And,
Well, this is boring.
Yeah, right. He's finally going to get that pawn back, it looks like, but then it's going to be completely even.
Yeah, no, I called this from like 30 minutes ago that white would get the pawn back and it would be a draw.
So black should play queen a6 probably, right?
Yeah, cause a little bit of an issue. But you know, I think the if white manages to take d5 and has control of the d file, I think his advantage is symbolic at best. Doesn't seem like a real try for a win.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I certainly think this is likely to draw.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go back and check on. Here we go with Arthur Guo and Rui.
Yeah, I think this game is interesting, and the Andrew Hong and Justin
Yeah,
Justin Wayne game is interesting as well.
Right. So
But
now black plays queen f6.
Queen f6.
Because if bishop f7, you have knight f5, right? Also queen h6, but knight f5.
Knight f5. Why not queen f6? Oh, yeah.
Sorry?
If bishop f7, knight f5, can we play like queen f6? Is that
Yes, but then queen f6, you have queen h6.
ooh. Then bishop g6?
Well, but then you can do
Great.
knight f2.
And then f2 is covered, yeah, okay. Yeah, that's seems like that works.
So either queen e6 or f6. With queen e6, I kind of want to play f4. Queen f6, I might still want to play f4, but then, you know, black could even take it, so it's a little trickier.
Why not just play pawn e4, like queen f6, f4, just pawn to e4?
Well, you can, for sure. But that's, I think white should be happy with that. White plays g3, and then moves the knight around.
Yes, yeah. I'm wondering. Well, if white takes too long, can't black just double on the b file and try to?
Yeah, the f pawn's going to be weak, and also at some point you're gonna take that bishop on d3. But at any rate, what's black going to do here? So also on queen e6, you could even play knight f3 to play knight g5. I'd kind of rather. I mean, the positional thing to do, of course, just to play pawn to g3, and then just cycle the knight around. Nothing wrong with being positional. Yeah, I would say.
Yeah.
I think I want to play.
I really want to play rook e3 after queen e6.
Yeah. I think what I want to play here is queen f6. And then if rook e3, then black wants to play f4, I think.
Yeah, I guess rook h3, bishop g8 will prevent everything. Well, no, because knight g6 is still in the air.
Knight g6.
So
Yeah.
I think the rook h3 is actually not super easy to handle.
Yeah.
Maybe bishop f7. Maybe bishop f7 holds.
Well, queen f6, rook e3, f4, because bishop f7, queen f5, right? I'm also nervous with rook e3. Like, black could play rook a8 or rook a6, but I like a8 somehow because it keeps the rook on b6. And now rook a1 is a bit of an issue.
Yeah, I want to just play rook b1 and kind of go for it and give you the b2 pawn, but can't do that without some good calculation.
Yeah, I mean it's certainly possible, but if queen f6, like I'd like to just win this position a little bit.
That'd be nice. That'd be nice.
Without, but if you play g3, black's going to play f4. So after queen f6, like the really natural move is to play pawn to f4, and then e takes f4, and then tricky.
On e takes, why not just like rook f2?
Yep, that's what I was thinking, or rook c4.
I don't know. I thought e4 seems more natural to me from black because you're going to double on the b pawn, and now you have pressure on the c pawn as well with your queen.
Well, if after queen f6, f4, e4, you have about 2 moves before you're lost, right? So white's going to play pawn to g3.
Yeah, and then rook b8.
And then knight g2.
And rook b2.
Queen f6.
Wait, I'm sorry. There's a rook on d2, right? So if I play f4, e4, g3.
I want to go rook fb8, not rook. Yeah.
Oh, well then I'm taking the pawn on f5.
Ah, yes. Yeah, and then d6 falls, so that can't be done.
Well, let's take a look real quick at Justin Wang and Andrew Hong's game. See how this. Black's played rook e6.
Yeah, it's still very good for white, but he did lose a tempo with that bishop g2. It doesn't look as crushing anymore. You can certainly go into the endgame. I mean, even the endgame is probably winning for white, but you kind of feel like there ought to be something better.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Now
trade e6. I would have thought rook d8 and go in the endgame that way. Trade everything on d8 and then play bishop d4 at the end. I'm surprised by this. Maybe white has some sort of concrete idea here.
Well, just on general grounds, I don't like it because white has lost some of the dynamism in his position.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, this is nowhere near as clear as it was 2 moves previously.
Yeah.
You're looking at all these sacrificing opportunities that are not non-existent now. Let's go back and peek at Arthur's and Rui's game, and here was your idea, Kyron. He played G3.
Oh no, that's Pat. That's not my idea.
That was Patrick.
Now, I think Black wants very much to play f4. This is like the typical way you meet this, and I am not sure. I much prefer pushing the pawn to f4 rather than this precisely because you want to stop Black from going f4. Yeah. But I almost think at this point pushing to f4 is kind of automatic.
Yeah, it's a nice positional touch. Is that if white gets f4 in, it's going to be pretty nice for white. But if Black can play f4 herself, then it stops a lot of white's ideas. And start some of Black's own ideas with maybe opening the F file someday.
Yeah.
The other thing about G3 first is you've weakened the light squares around your king, and I feel like that's not a trivial decision.
So now on F4, the really bold move, the really sort of consistent move is G takes F4, right? And the tactic is if Queen takes F4, Knight G6. So F4, G takes F4, Rook G8 check, King H1. Queen takes f4, I mean, the problem is like this might be the right way to play, but it's such a computer line.
You have insane ideas.
Lost. Yeah.
There's one line where you can play f4, g takes, rook g8 check, king h1, rook takes b2. And my idea, if you play rook takes b2, is queen takes h4, and then bishop d5 is mate if you take the queen. Unless I'm miscalculating something horribly, but that.
Well, you are miscalculating something actually.
Oh no.
What you're missing actually is very funny. Is after rook takes bishop d5 check, you have f3, bishop f3, rook g2, and it's not mate. You have to play rook takes g2.
Yeah. But that might even
be
enough.
It's all moved.
Yeah.
So now, I am not a fan of rook a6. That move feels very slow to me.
What is the idea of rook a6?
I think the idea is just, rook on the open file, bring the other rook over, that sort of thing. But that does not feel correct to me. And I really want to play f4 now. And now if e takes f4, we have a very interesting decision. What to do here. I kind of want to play rook e8.
Sorry, rook e8. Mm-hmm. Oh, after f4, e takes. Okay, yeah.
Okay, this is getting tricky. I think this is a good place to think a bit. I mean, one of the reasons I wanted to play f4 first is because after e takes f4, there was no pressure on the g pawn. Now on f4, e takes f4, it's kind of dicier, but e takes f4, you can always play rook f2.
Right. Yeah, because you don't want to take back on f4 with the pawn. You want a piece there to blockade.
And f4, e takes f4, rook f2. And by the way, moving the rook from b6 helps, obviously, in a kind of weird way. And now if f takes g3, h takes g3, white's given back the pawn, but it's got attack all over the place. You could even play rook takes f5, g takes h2, check, king takes h2, and I think that's just a win, right? I think you actually have to go queen takes knight check, because if you move the queen, rook takes rook, queen takes, and knight d6 check. So you have to go queen takes knight, queen takes queen, rook takes queen, queen takes c4, it's over. So f4, f, rook f2.
So yeah, we can't take g3 because rook f5, I agree.
Yeah. That looks like it might be very strong. And that's very typical for these kinds of positions. Like there's some moment where white has to allow scary tactics in order to just put the knife in. And this looks
this seems like the good moment because black has just released some pressure on the b2 pawn. So
and also all of white's pieces are working excellently, right? After f4, ef, rook f2, every single piece was active, contrasted to where it was like 5 moves ago. So f4 feels right to me. Now if e4.
Yeah, I think e4 has to be played then. If
now
otherwise black just gets destroyed.
Now e4. I mean, one possibility is you play g3, g4.
Wow.
Oh, queen d1.
Okay.
I don't like this. What is white trying to do?
I don't know. This feels to me like he just wasn't sure. It's just
but no, why not just play f4 as black now?
F4 definitely makes sense. I agree. You could also move the rook to a8, rook f8, but I agree. F4 just feels like the right move.
Or rook g8 is a possibility now.
Yeah. But I don't like rook g8 as much, if only because I'm not unhappy to play knight g2, although then, of course, black can play f4, and kind of an interesting question.
Yeah.
But then white has rook e4. I think I'd rather just play the...
White wants to play b3 and c4. Yeah, but even if white gets b3 and c4, it's not, those pawns aren't scary for black at all.
No,
Maybe the bishop gets knocked off a good square, but...
Well, I agree. So now people are starting to drift a bit, I think. I mean, I get it. Black wants to stop b3 and also have the opportunity to play bishop b3. But...
It's funny, the best move seems to be f4 for both sides, move after move. Maybe not here for white, but white probably needs the queen to go back to h5, actually.
Let me do a peek in on Justin Wang and Andrew Hong. There have been a few moves played since we last saw it, and this is the current position.
I mean, I guess white's still a little better, but the king is getting a little bit drafty.
No,
or white, I'd be...
White is clearly better. White should play bishop b4 here. And then on any queen move other than queen takes queen, pretty much, you're going to play f4. And then after queen takes queen, rook takes queen, basically you're going to play f4, right? And then you own the d file. I think this is still very good for white. I mean, I think white's position was so good before that it sort of tolerated a little bit of imprecision. But I think I would play bishop b4 here.
Yeah, so Andy wants to go into the end game. If I were black, though, I feel like I would want to play queen e6. And then, like, if you do play f4, trade the bishops and maybe try to keep the heavies on and harass your king a little bit. And maybe even play g5 myself.
Yeah, but let's do some variations. So bishop b4, where do you go? Queen e6?
Yeah, maybe queen d7 is accurate there. But okay, so f4.
Maybe, but let's try f4 first.
All right, so bishop g2.
Queen takes.
Okay, so I have to move my rook.
There you go, f4.
Yeah,
first.
but now he's allowing the trade. I'm not a fan of this. This may still work. I'm just not as much of a fan.
Yeah.
So here I would play knight takes bishop. And now either pawn takes...
Yeah, definitely.
If queen takes, bishop g2, king g2. Tricky position. I think you probably want to take the queen, and then on rook takes, go b4. And
Oh, wow. Yeah, b4 is an interesting resource. Yeah. White has to be very careful of that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's probably winning for white, but now I think it requires a lot of precision. Whereas I think after bishop b4, because that bishop is so good, I mean, it's a pretty simple rule.
Yeah. And Black's knight is terrible if Black's knight can barely move, so yeah.
Yeah, generally you want to keep your strong pieces and you want to keep your opponent's passive pieces on the board, right? So
yeah.
So knight takes bishop.
Yeah.
You can play pawn takes, and that might be the right move. But
keeping all those heavy pieces on, like you're gonna have to, and your king doesn't have great shelter. It might still be winning, but it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be
after knight takes, pawn takes, you're gonna go rook e8, and now suddenly black has the only open file. And
like h5 is an idea, just trying to blow open more pawns.
And you can play bishop takes, queen d5, take, and maybe that rook endgame is a win. It probably is, but my gut is that it's probably still a win for white, but it's harder.
Yeah, but so how does in the rook endgame, how does white win that though? After the b4 resource, like for example, knight takes, queen takes, trade the bishops, and then trade the queen takes d6, rook takes d6. b4 at the end. It seems like black is just getting.
Well, you have to play c takes b4, right? Because you don't want to.
And then rook's
Rook's already behind.
Then rook c8.
Then rook c8. Then you got to run back with the rook. So
D2.
D2, right? Stop it there.
Yeah.
C3, rook C2, and then you got to calculate like what's the right move for black. Like, is it F6? Is it King F8? Like, I don't know. I mean, is it rook C4? Maybe it's white is still better. White's still for choice. White's still the one trying to win. But it's now it's actually a game.
So we were looking at a previous game that looked like it was an absolute dead draw, trade down, king, rook, and equal amount of pawns. And here we are, Christopher Yu and Christopher Shen. And it sort of seems like Christopher Yu is trying to squeeze out something.
I think it's a draw. he's trying, but
Black should go rook F6.
Yeah, rook F6, cut off the king.
Well, cut off the king, but also protect all three pawns, hit the F pawn, and ready the king to swing around the F8.
I'm sure rook C2 is drawing as well.
Yeah, but after A4.
And then rook back to C6, yeah.
Then rook back
I
to
guess.
C6, right? So
It doesn't get very far.
it's probably still draw. I agree with that. It's probably still draw.
Also pawn A4 is an idea. And he can't take his rook C4.
Yes.
But maybe he just ignores it. But no, this has to be a draw in a number of ways. Yep, pawn A4. But yeah, no, I hold my my opinion that this will be drawn.
You're sticking with that bet.
Yeah.
All right, let's.
Maybe white can try D4 here. It's probably a draw. I mean,
it's one of those positions where I feel like even if a player drops a pawn for nothing, it's still like theoretically drawn.
So moving on to Rui's game here.
This queen has gone on an adventure and went. It started on A3, then went to A1, D1, H5, back to D1, back to A4.
Violating every rule we tell players about the pieces.
This is actually on a small tangent. I had a game like this against GM Melik Kachin where he had a similar position, and I was like playing the white pieces and I had no idea what to do, so I kept moving the queen back and forth, and then eventually he just pushed the pawns and beat me. So I feel Arthur's pain here a little bit. Where
he'll actually be joining us tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
Queen D7 is interesting, although to be honest, I wanted to play Queen A7, but at any rate, here we are. And obviously the queen is pretty active, so it's not terrible. It's not obvious that it's better on D7 than H5, but it's still very active.
I think it does show that the players are a little bit inexperienced because no one's played F4 or no one's attempted to, especially I think.
They're drifting, yeah.
Yeah.
I would play rook G8. No, sorry, you can't do that. So F4 probably.
Again, yeah. I think F4 has been Black's best move for maybe 6 or 7 moves in a row.
Actually, it is interesting. Like it's not. So rook G8. Knight, you can't go queen F5 because of queen H4, knight F5, bishop E6, queen C7. Is probably winning for white, but you do get a chance to hit all those light squares, so it's a little dicey. Like queen takes F5, queen takes B6, queen F3, but I think you've got queen E3 there. Okay. Rook F7 certainly makes sense.
Maybe white will play queen e8 and get the queen back to h5, and it'll do a full diamond of the chessboard.
Except the bishop will be on b3 instead of c4. That's great.
Yes, yeah, it's like a
exercise. Like how did we reach this position? C8,
yeah.
C4, and now you can only repeat the position one more time before it's a draw.
Actually, Arthur knew that he wanted the bishop on b3, so he went on this whole diamond escapade just to get the same position, but with the bishop on d3.
Well, I mean, queen e8 check. It's either queen e8 or queen c8. Okay, so queen c8.
Okay.
Now.
And then we go to c7 after rook f8. The idea.
Yeah, maybe. That certainly makes sense. So king g7. The queen's a little funky on c8. She's not bad necessarily. It's just sort of odd.
Yeah, king g7 makes a lot of sense. Just yeah, I mean, black's king is perfectly safe on g7. The rooks are never going to get over there, so seems okay. I think white's just really trying to find something to attack, and he can't figure out a good plan here.
Is it common because Arthur Gu is probably 200 rating points higher? Is there a chance that he'll overpress, trying to get precious points and just press too much and have things go wrong?
So my theory is that white is playing a little bit on the clock here, and that he's because f4 is an inherently slightly risky move. So maybe he's trying to kind of harass a little bit and try to get some time on the clock, and then when Rui gets lower on time, because he does have this large time advantage, maybe then he'll play f4 and you don't want to be in complications with 5 minutes on your clock.
And Christopher Yu and Christopher Shen did draw their game, so
yeah.
So 2 games remaining. Let's take a peek at the other game, Justin Wang and Andrew Hong.
Wow, e5. Oh, he's allowed to take on e5. Interesting.
It's intriguing he didn't play bishop takes e5, actually.
Yeah, because black should be able to set up a blockade on e6 pretty easily. Maybe white will play queen d5 after the bishops are traded and try to dislodge it that way. But this is starting to look like a rook endgame, and that's I think black would be very happy to have reached a rook endgame after that position he had earlier.
Oh, let's just play bishop takes g2 check, and then what?
So we have queen takes g2, and then
and queen e6.
Queen e6, right? Yeah, and is there anything better than queen d5? Maybe queen c6 is a little bit annoying.
So queen d5, I wanted to play knight c7, although queen c6 might throw a spanner in that. So instead, I guess just queen takes queen, rook takes queen. Now...
Probably has to take the bishop, right?
So knight takes bishop, pawn takes, king f7, and there you've got your rook ending, which is tricky. That might very well just be a draw, actually.
Yeah, I think white can maybe win a pawn, but
not clear though, because
yeah,
is hanging in some lines, and then
right.
Rook b1 check, rook a1. So
wow.
No.
I mean, it's white definitely bungled this a little bit, but props to black for getting untangling, because this is not clear at all. I don't see how white can really hope for a serious edge at all.
Okay, so I assume take with the queen. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Now, I mean, queen e6 is certainly the natural move, but it's not
the
one.
Black definitely does not want to go into a queen endgame. I think black wants to go into a rook endgame, not a queen endgame.
Well, it depends where the pieces are going to end up.
Depends where the queen is, yeah. If black's queen is harassing the white king, then maybe.
I mean, also, by the way, maybe black plays queen f7 here.
It's queen d5 anyway.
If queen e6, there's queen f8 check, king h7, queen f5. All right, so if you play the natural move, it makes sense. So queen f8.
He also only has 2 minutes on his clock versus 17, so that's pretty serious.
What's the time control?
A G70, but there's a 10-second increment.
Okay. So
10 second isn't. It's not a ton. It's enough, but it's a lot different than 30-second increment.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, I think white probably has to go. Well, maybe he doesn't have to go queen d5, but if you're white, you really don't want to see that black queen getting active.
There's a lot of checks happening if once that pawn goes to d6, right? So.
And we've had some moves in the Rui Arthur Guo game, so I'm going to switch to that. Here's the current position, and White's played Queen Queen A8.
Trying to get the queen to the four corners.
The four corners.
It's like the night hop, right? Like
the Queen Tour. Like
the Queen Tour.
White's losing some of his time advantage. I sure do want to play f4 now.
Yeah. I mean, everything is pointing to f4. Like your queen and rook will be open. White's heavies are a little bit offside.
Well, if f4, I think White's idea is probably rook a7.
Yeah, rook a7. Actually, the rook on b6 is feeling a little bit strange now. A little bit loose.
I agree. Maybe queen g5, but then knight f3. Queen g5, because I want to actually, or even queen h6. Maybe. I want to harass that rook on d2. I guess just a theoretical idea, but I'm not sure. Queen h6 was actually kind of interesting, I think. Anyway, for another time. So now, what?
I mean, queen e7 is a practical move. It stops White's main idea. But it feels like Black is being very reactive, not very proactive.
Taking the initiative, yeah.
I really want to play f4 here. And on e takes f4, I want to play rook e1. I wonder...
Wow.
Of course, I'm not playing the game, so I want to do that.
Much easier to sacrifice other people's pieces.
Much easier to play bold, unclear moves when it doesn't have consequences. But if not f4, then what? Rook a6, maybe?
Yeah, Andy Lee said that, and that's the move that's just been played, rook a6.
That makes a lot of sense.
Interesting. Yeah. Because the rook on b6 feels like a problem, but it actually holds a lot of stuff together. It held back White's b pawn and it defends the d6 pawn. So
well, and also Black's rook on f7 is actually passive. I mean, the whole idea of trying to play this f4 move is to try to activate it. But yeah. So this is very natural. But now I want very much to play rook take rook queen a3.
And Black may not have a choice but to go d5 and just march on boldly.
If d5, knight f3, that position I think should be. Well, I guess actually then you have rook a7, and then queen b4, and that's okay. So all right. So let's see. Rook takes rook queen a3. It's either d5 or rook d7. With d5, queen a1 to go queen e1 maybe.
That queen tour, yes.
Because once you go d5, that bishop has been killed, right? So it gives you time to do stuff.
No, but Black has to be extremely active. Like something like f4 immediately needs to be played to. But even then, queen e1 is in time.
Yeah, so rook takes queen a3. I kind of want to play rook d7 there because I mean d5 is just so positionally horrible. I don't want to play it unless I have to. d5 queen a1. You could play d4 there, but c takes d4. The queen's getting the e1 really quick. And doesn't feel right. So takes queen a3. I think rook d7 just to hold. And then, now it's back on White to find a move.
Not so easy. The knight on h4 is not quite
knight
as...
not knight g2, but then rook a8. Kind of a funny blunder. So yeah, I mean maybe you play knight f3 or something, but it's still a game. Probably white's made progress, but still a game.
So let's take a look at Justin Wang and Andrew Hong.
Yeah, here we are.
Yep, queen d5.
Well, I mean, I guess king f7, right? Or especially if you don't have much time. Because knight c7, rook c5, right?
But what's the issue with taking d6 immediately?
Well,
I guess it's the same.
Yeah, it's just the same, right? The only issue is you give yourself a little bit more flexibility, I guess.
So likely white will end up having to take the b5 pawn, will lose the d6 pawn, may win a pawn on the queen side, but black will have a lot of activity, and the white king is going to be unsafe.
Takes, white is not just a draw.
Yeah, probably a draw. Wow,
Rook
what a comeback.
Rook d4, rook d3.
Yeah.
I mean, white can try, but
yeah, white's not even winning a pawn. It's just gonna be equal.
Yeah.
No, I mean this is just looks like a draw. I don't see how white can even hope to try to do something.
This was a fail. This is one he should have won.
So going back, this is the game to watch right now.
Yeah, here we are, 23, rook d7.
Oh, yep.
And Arthur under 8 minutes.
Yeah, Rue's making some of the time deficit back, which is very important because I have a feeling that this game will complicate at some point. Right now it's...
Who do I want to play here for white? No, I wanted to play the move c4. I think c4 actually was a strong move.
And black can't take because f5 would hang, and then we're also threatening to bring the queen over back to the king side where it probably should have been in the first place.
Yeah, I think c4 was the right move. But, I get rook d1. I get it. Like, white just wants to sort of consolidate, and that's not crazy. I just think c4 was a better move.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I mean, playing okay moves quickly is a valid strategy here.
Especially for white.
Yeah.
Time's on white's side, both on the clock and the position.
And white's up a pawn, so black can't black has to be very careful about liquidating because a lot of endgames will just be lost.
Now I really want to play c4. And on bishop takes 4, queen f3, bishop e6, knight f5, bishop d4. And I don't even know if that's any good because of queen f2, queen f5 check, king e7, but it might cause her head to explode. But but probably white shouldn't do that, having not played c4 before. So what do we do?
Maybe queen and queen a8. I guess rook d8 is the idea.
And Justin Wang and Andrew Hong did draw that other game.
Actually, yeah, I mean, the problem with queen a8 is it hangs b2, and queen f8 check, rook f7 is just complicated. It might be good.
Yeah, but maybe there's no reason for white to go into a forcing the line and maybe just keep the pressure, like you said.
Well, but of course the reason to go rook queen a8 is to get the queen to f3, right? Which is not crazy. I think the problem is the queen looks really nice on a3. Oh, there we go. I mean, this makes sense as a tactical move because now it's very scary for black. It has to calculate all these checks.
Yeah. Black could also just play rook d8 though, and
yeah, but then on rook d8, white has a pleasant choice. White can move the queen either to a3, a1, maybe actually queen a1, and then play queen c1.
Yeah, queen c1 is nice.
A nasty.
Queen c1 is actually very hard to deal with because the queen's getting into g5 or h6 there, and that's not what black wants to see.
Yeah, well, black, of course, can play f4, but then, so rook d8, queen a1, some sort of rook g8, queen a1, f4, something like that. Not crazy.
I don't really like the idea of combining king f6 and f4, though. It seems like the this king is safe for now, but walking a tightrope.
The move I want to play here is queen f3. Because now queen b2, either you take on f5 or you play queen h5. Yeah, there we go. And now black has to decide what she's going to do. And this is not an easy decision.
I mean, you probably have to take b2 here. Like, what else makes sense? You can't defend passively. You're just going to lose pawns, or worse. I actually think it's kind of an easy. I think black just make sure you're not getting mated and just go take b2 and hope for the best.
I mean, I guess so, but psychologically it's very hard because queen h5 might be the end, and also this changes the character of the position a lot. It's always hard to deal with that. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
Ugh, that's an ugly move.
No, but it doesn't surprise me, right? Because now queen h5 can be met by queen g7, and the game keeps going.
That's true. It does stop queen h5.
It doesn't stop it. My guess is queen h5 is still a good move, but at least there's a defense. I think queen b2 is just very hard to play with 2 minutes left for the rest of the game.
But I mean, so queen h5, queen g7, just like knight f3, and you have more threats already.
Yeah.
And like queen h4 is a threat. Knight e5 is in the air. This does not look fun.
No, I agree. Anyway, white should play queen h5, and I think white should. Oh, interesting.
Rook a1.
Well, it's not bad at all. Definitely activating the rook, in a sense. I don't know. I thought the rook was pretty good on d1 and queen.
Yeah. I think the rook is less active on the a file than the d file, but what do I know?
Oh, but the rook has a lot of squares it can land on, right? Like a8, a7, a6, a5, and a4, all like possible squares that rook could go to. So
Rui at a minute 40.
Yeah, this is a very hard position to play in time pressure. And the nice thing about rook a1 is it's not what you would expect.
That's true.
I guess b4 here, right? I mean, of course, there's always queen h5, which, by the way, might
Yeah. Queen h5 feels stronger now that the rook has kind of run away a little bit, but maybe that's just the optics. Queen e3 is also kind of interesting with rook a7 and queen h6.
But the nice thing about playing b4 is now black needs to come up with another move, right?
I'll probably rook c8.
And then rook e3, and now you need to come up with another move.
Queen c4?
Okay, and now queen h5.
Maybe so, yeah.
And now everything's just collapsing.
And Arthur approaching under 5 minutes. This is the last game of the round. Robert Shliatenko won his game. That's the only decisive game of this round. Justin Wang and Andrew Hong drew, as did Christopher Yu.
Yeah, queen e3. So rook a7 and queen h6 are dual ideas.
Nasty move, yeah. Now, rook b2, but queen h6 wins. So I think you got to go f4 here.
Yeah, because, I mean, rook a7 isn't that scary, maybe, because you can play rook b7 if you need, but queen h6 is very scary.
Queen h6 is more than scary. No! I mean, honestly, you had to play f4 regardless of whether it works or not. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Now,
so, I mean, like rook a7, right? Like, where does the queen go?
Yeah. Rook a7 looks very nasty. By the way, also rook a6 looks pretty strong. But rook a7 is probably right. And after queen g5, f4. And that just looks like the end.
Yeah. It's
But rook a6 is not stupid either, by the way.
I think white will find rook a7. It's the other move he was threatening. So yeah.
There it is, rook a7.
Yeah.
And immediately f4.
Wow. Okay.
Wait, all right.
I mean, I like it. I like the idea, but let's see if it actually works. Wow. So we can't hold on to the rook.
Yeah.
Where's the queen go?
This is the problem.
That's a nice shot there, really. Wow. I really like it.
Whoops.
White just has to trade the queens, right? And wait, but then
It's not a queen trade. This position has suddenly become very bad for white.
wow. Nice shot,
I
really. That's
admit I didn't
amazing.
see f4 deflected the queen, but rook a6 would not have run into this problem.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, rook. We both missed the f4 move that we've been yelling about the entire game.
It's interesting, actually. This very much feels to me like a game between two talented kids, right? Like somehow the ideas have not been correct, but there were very nice tactics.
Yeah.
Oh,
So wait, what happens here? Rook a7, e2, rook a1, and then black just takes on b2 and cements the pawn on e2, and suddenly black is probably winning. Well, maybe not winning, but definitely not losing anymore.
Yeah.
Are there any other tricks like rook b2? Wow, this is a disaster for white. Black has a fantastic choice of taking on f2, pushing e2.
Yeah, a lot of options.
Yeah, I'm trying to find a knockout blow for black here after rook a7.
This is the flip side of trying to play the clock and delay making difficult decisions. Like sometimes the right time to look for the absolute right continuation is when you do have a big time advantage, because then you can actually work it out. And what happened here is Arthur thought like he just worked the clock down, but she was just defending against threats, and then he thought he found a winning continuation, but he just didn't check everything. And I've had that happen. That's not that unusual. I think this is losing for white. I mean, I think you either have to... Go ahead.
So I'm seeing rook a7, e2, rook a1, rook takes b2, rook e1, but white will get f3 and king f2, so maybe not. But white's going to lose c3 as well, and then the d pawn's coming too. So that's
Their time is equal now.
Yeah.
But I don't know what white's thinking about. White has to play rook a7. Is there any other move?
Well, you could try to play rook h7, e2,
Knight
knight
f3.
f3. I mean, I think that's a bad idea, but you could try to play rook h7, e2, and then knight g2. Oh, here we go.
Wow. Okay, and then rook b2. What's the idea?
Well, the idea is f3, right?
I guess so. Wow. It's man, that feels shaky. But yeah, I guess that's working.
So one idea, by the way, is rook b1, king f2, rook f1, king e2, bishop c4.
I was thinking bishop c4 before, like rook b1, king f2, bishop c4. If
Right, so you can actually do that. And then you have to play knight e1, and then rook c1. Yeah, this is tricky. So if you go the other way, the idea is, well, anyway, this makes sense. So now king f2. Oh,
well,
right.
then e1. Then e1.
Right, you gotta go knight e1, excuse me.
Yeah, knight e1, only move.
Knight e1. And now, by the way, d5 is kind of interesting. Probably a move you want to play anyway.
Yeah, but actually, it doesn't seem... I feel like what is black going to do? Maybe take on c3, but then white can start shoving the h-pawn.
Well, the h-pawn isn't going to make it on its own, I think. Yeah. So I would have played d5 first, just because you probably want that bishop protected anyway, but whatever. It's probably going to...
Yeah, rook h6 might be a good insertion here to force the king to
That's
e7.
another reason to play d5, that's right, because now rook h6 forces the king to e7, which might help. Might not, but whatever.
And just to remind people, the players do have a 10-second increment.
which suddenly is a large percentage of the rest of the time they have on their clocks.
Yeah.
That actually matters.
Yeah, but black has a very easy plan of take c3 and shove the d pawn and ask white how they're going to deal with that. Oh, this is it's a nail biter.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting because it's not that hard to play. I feel like both sides kind of, the moves aren't that hard to find. It's not like a super complicated position, but it's, you know, it's very hard to evaluate. Like, I don't know. I have no idea who's winning.
So F-Pawn's in the chat saying he was quietly observing this game, and then all of a sudden he did not expect it to look like this. And Rui found an amazing resource at the opportune moment. And here we are.
That's what I was talking about. Like, Rui, you know, good players are just hold bad positions and don't break yet, and then you know, wait for that moment when their opponent just makes an inaccuracy and they seize it. So I really like to see that from her. That you know, I don't know if Queen G7 was like a trap where she set this up, or if she just saw it on the fly. But you know, the fact that she found
played F4 like right away. I mean, she played it right away.
Yeah.
I'm sure, like, she saw that.
The idea.
Yeah, like she made. I don't think she was going for it, but I'm sure, like, she saw the defense and then felt that rush of maybe this is going to happen. Yeah, this is still very tricky.
So yeah, I don't see white winning this at this point. I think white is either going to draw or black will win.
Now you play G5 check, and you hope for King F5, Rook F7, King G6, Rook F6, King H5, Rook H6.
That's
Or
what
a mirror image of G5, King G6, Rook H6, King F5, Rook F6.
Yeah, I guess white has these connectors.
Yeah. No, in any event, you play G5.
And white has 15 seconds, so...
Not understand why he's thinking. I don't understand why you don't play G5 immediately. That's crazy. Like, you obviously want to play G5 and the tactics work. You push the king back, so what's he doing? I assume she should play, D4, there we go.
D4, yeah. The thing is, once you play D3, the white king goes to E3, but then you have Rook C2. And maybe that's enough.
Yeah, I figured Rook C7 would happen.
Okay. So the trick is on D3, then white can play knight takes D3.
Yeah.
It's the idea. Even that is probably drawn, like rook takes D3, rook takes C4, rook E3. Other than rook C1. Maybe not drawn. But this is annoying. This is annoying for black.
Yeah.
So I think she's deciding whether she should play bishop B5. Yep. Okay, and go into the trade off the rooks. This is starting to feel like a draw to me, though.
I'm not sure at all. I think if you force me to take a side, I might want white here, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't see white winning with unless black falls into some nasty trap. I don't think white should be winning.
This is going to be tense.
Yeah, very tense, very tense.
H5.
All right, yeah, H5. That's starting to become a problem. These pawns are very serious.
This is good for white now.
Okay, D3. I think has to.
D3, but white's in good position to control that.
Yeah, because I wanted king e3, rook c2, but it doesn't seem to quite work because maybe white could just take the bishop there.
I would have considered rook d6 there, but whatever.
So king e3, I think has to.
Well, king e3 certainly makes sense. Yep.
Okay. Rook c1. Oh, then king d2. Oh, e4, and you take g5. That's a really nice shot. That's really nice. I mean, you're not winning anymore. Black's not winning, but you
And Arthur,
eliminate
15 seconds.
You eliminate the g5 pawn, which is
You got to play f4.
Something.
There you go.
Oh,
This is
f4.
where
Nice
you know
move.
it's kids playing chess.
There's hope. There's hope.
G6, come on.
This is wild. This is a really wild position.
And then rook h,
Oof.
pop, and rook b8. Well, that's good too, frankly.
So king f8.
Why is this
But
not
I-
white?
Yeah, I don't see how black break. Oh, but okay. So black wants rook c1. So king f8. Then what?
H6 and h7
And then rook c1.
and h7
And then king g7.
and then rook e8.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Then we have to take the pawn on h7. But even that, like, okay. So we might get this rook c1. I think black has to.
No, rook c1.
Rook c7.
Now rook
Oh,
e,
wow.
rook e8 check.
Oh, rook e8. Nice. Very nice. Wow. What a finish.
Yes, I love it.
that is really nice.
That was a shot.
I mean, rook e1 though. Rook e1. It's still not that clear.
Oh, wait.
Yeah. What happens?
There's going to be some check somewhere.
Yeah, he resigned. She resigned.
Oh, really? I wouldn't resign there. Rook e1.
I wouldn't resign either. I'd play rook e1 and then just see.
Just because I have to see it. It does say it's one, the computer, but
Yeah, of course.
but oh, what a! I feel bad for her because she really fought back and gave Arthur some problems. But kudos to Arthur for finding tactical shots with little time on the clock.
What was very interesting, I think, is it was easy to think that position after knight g2, knight e1 had to be lost for white. But actually, if you were able just to think about it for a minute, I think that unless there's some precise sequence that we didn't see, I think that position's okay.
Let me see. Actually, if you want to know, it's even at that point after knight e1.
Sure, but go back a couple moves.
Yeah. Go back till after rook takes h7 maybe.
Yeah, go back after rook h7 and just make sure that there's no sequence we missed in the moment.
It says a black is better, just very slightly, 0.39, and then e takes f. Actually, recommended e takes
take
f2 as the better move.
Yeah, and just take b2.
But only by a little bit.
Yeah, but that position should be okay because you've got rook h6 check happening fast enough, I think.
Yeah. So round 3 is in the books, and
Kudos to Arthur for finding rook h7, knight g2.
Arthur salvaged Patrick's belief in the future of American chess with those resources. So, well, guys, thank you for helping me call the round. Actually, you guys did all the calling. Thanks for hanging around. The next round starts at 4, but we're going to start our coverage of round 4 at 4:30. So Patrick and Paul Whitehead will be back on later.
Okay.
And so thanks, Kyron, for jumping in.
Yeah.
And thank you all for watching the third round. We will be back at 4:30.
Abel, quick question. So, Abel, should I just mute and put my video on, mute my video and sound, and then I'll just...
Oh, you can log off and just use the same link and then jump back in.
All right, a little bit of Zoom hygiene there.
Yes. So, all right, guys, thank you. And
Okay.
everyone
Thanks.
watching.